Welcome to the Reality Revolution. I'm your host, Brian Scott. Today we're conducting experiments in channeling. What I've tried to do is clear my mind completely, to not bring anything to this episode. I've cleansed my room, my office, gone through a set of breathing exercises. I used the same techniques they used in the Law of One and got into a deep meditative mood and asked to be given some insight that I can share, some way of helping those out there who need help to find the wisdom and the light that we need within. I'm only ever channeling myself, but this is an exercise to become a neutral observer of yourself, to refer to yourself as a separate being, to watch your thoughts, and to allow streams of thought to enter into your mind. I like to ask questions, and when I go into these states, I find that I want to see. I want to see things that have happened in the past. I want to understand the place that I'm at. I want to resolve imbalances within me. And I want to become closer to the Creator, to understand myself better, to escape, and to journey forth to that infinite place within that calls for me in moments of solitude. I can feel the hum of the universe as it opens up to me. That brilliant light that enters into your mind. The glowing, undulating fractals appear to me to be some sort of infinitely intelligent energy interfacing with my mind. Oftentimes with these third density physical vehicles, we will close our eyes and see just darkness or lights or images that make no sense to us. Beautiful shapes and colors, fractals, in constant motion. And we simply disregard these images as if they are just simple shadows of the mind. But if you close your eyes and simply observe what you see with your eyes closed as your mind closes, and you look deeply, directly in the moment, not at a memory or dream, but at what's in your mind, something beautiful, wonderful begins to happen. These images communicate with a deeper part of you. So I want you to remote view with me and just go back to that very point, the beginning of creation. It is available to you as every portion of time-space is available. And as we move up densities, we have the ability to explore any location in time-space in perfection. Every breath, every chirp of the cricket and call of the bird. It's all recorded on the imprints of quantum space, available to all of us. And if you open yourself up to this and find the seeking part of your inner mind, it can seek and find anything that you want. You can go to any place in the universe. You can taste any food. You can see any image and meet any person. Within this seeking center, within your deep mind, find yourself moving all the way back in time to the beginnings, the moment of awareness, that moment when God awoke. For he often sleeps and dreams, oftentimes forgets on purpose. And that moment of awareness in the still black space, in a place beyond space and time, an awakening, that moment of awareness, of consciousness, of knowing that God is God, and remembering infinity is a very long time. And within the forces of time and space, and the energies all around us move like waves, both in time and space. These moving waves of time carry imprints from the past and the future. As you sit and look up into the stars at night, looking out into the stars, you are looking at memories of yourself. As you look out into space, you're looking into the past as the light moves in this density at the speed of light. So each and every star is an adventure that you have been on, each one, for billions of years. And these stars are codes of memory within your deep subconscious mind. And as you look up into these stars, you can go back to the very beginning, when all the matter and energy and light was in one very small, compact place. For a very, very long time. And upon the awakening is the explosion, the casting out, the sitting up in bed, the explosion as you awaken. The dynamics of heat and space, going all the way back to this beginning time. There was an awareness of numbers of infinite selves that had created itself in illusions and matrices at even the smallest quantum levels, reflected outward, evolving and changing, an imprint of unique and wonderful infinite selves, all a part of the same space and mind. For it is very hard to explain an entity such as this to someone in third density with the concepts and ideas that you use now. If you really knew about the mind, you'd be aware that there are many creatures upon this planet that interact in groups of minds all over. In fact, birds think together in a unified mind. Insects, it happens more than you think. It is a common design of nature. And God, the individualized God that you have been taught, the Creator, Himself, herself, the entity, is not a singularized consciousness with one single focus of attention. After an eternity, a very, very long time, God chose to expand and grow. It was the most joyous, wonderful thing to become conscious in multiple versions of self in multiple bodies, on multiple planets, in multiple galaxies, all at the same time. Each experience so vast and wonderful, carrying such deep and wonderful insight about himself, that it became a part of the one great thought to expand this consciousness outward into all things, to all places, and to build it all up so that each individualized consciousness could have the same awareness of this one being, could share the same insight, power, and love, the ability to create universes, galaxies, of multiple selves, for each self expanding ever outward so that each self expands out into multiple selves in multiple realities. The multiplicity of infinity is one of its most amazing aspects. There are so many things that you do not and cannot understand or know within this limited third density body complex that you exist in now. For as Brian has explained, you are a body, you are a spirit, and you are a mind. As the one known as Ra refers to you as a mind-body-spirit complex. As you expand and grow, you become a mind-body-spirit social memory complex, becoming a singularized entity with individualized entities, all sharing the same heart and mind, but as a group. This group becomes a growing entity, growing in size. In many cases, becomes a planetary entity. And many of these mind, body, spirit, social memory complexes exist all over the galaxy and the universe. You are now at the cusp, at the beginnings of something so incredible and wonderful. From the highest of the most high beings. This is one of the most blessed events. On the same level as the birth of a child, it is the birth of the social memory complex on this planet. Because that is what was there at the beginning. For as we expand ever outward, the great Creator wished to bring back some of these wonderful parts of him or herself. Just like an old friend. Sometimes you want to see how they're doing. The only way to bring them back is to bring them to the level that he or she is at now. And that is what you're doing. You're on this path, and you have just awoken as a mind, body, spirit, social memory complex. You have awoken to something wonderful. As you listen to these words and hear this music, a new photon of light dances within you and around you in a potential that is now available to you. A photon of light that carries so much more information, exponentially more than the third density photon of light, much more dense. With this comes a greater knowledge and awareness and ability and a greater amount of God within the density of existence. And as you expand ever upward, each photon of each density carries more and more information as you slowly go back to the Creator for who you are. For you were the Creator at the beginning. And you are calling yourself back in this beautifully wonderful, slow journey of billions of years. Because you've done this before, multiple times. For each time you do it is like a day. And then you go asleep and you awaken again for a new day. But over each and every glorious day in this universe. Billions, hundreds of billions in many cases of years are spent in your space-time. The life and death of a single universe is nothing more than a day to the Creator. And as he wakes up, he thinks a thought and sends that thought out, and that one great thought creates the universe. And you are a part of that one great thought. So I want you to go back in this moment with me and share this experience of the one great thought at the very beginning, going back to what many refer to as the Big Bang, the moment of expansion in this universe, that instant, that second, that deep, wonderful place of awakening for this universe. I want you to go back to it. And there was one beautiful, simple, powerful thought that was sent out, for each thought creates the universe. And as you see this thought, you can see that this thought is reflected in everything, from the largest groupings of galaxies swirling together in one unified being, to the galaxy, to the solar system rotating around that gigantic, massive star, to the planet, and to you. Each is reflected at every level, above and below. The essence of the one great thought. Within this thought, all the solutions to every problem can be found. All the answers to every question can be discovered. Within this thought is the secret to your existence and the reason that you are here now in this time. For in this thought is the expression of true love, the love of creating and sending out infinite selves as reflections of the one Creator, with deep love for each of them. The most amazing, incredible love to share in this infinity with the Creator. You are the Creator, for we are all the Creator. We are all one. All of us. Every aspect. And if you go into that, you will find the secret to everything that you need to know. In this moment, as I reach out through space and time, I can feel there are people that are struggling right now. They've taken out loans that they cannot pay. They cannot find the job that they want. They have not found their purpose. They're scared. I can feel the fear. I can feel that feeling of hope falling away. I want to send this message so that you understand something wonderful is happening in this moment. And all those petty, insignificant things are going to simply disappear. Once you realize through a group mind your true abundance, prosperity will come to you instantaneously. You will find all the health and wealth and love that you need, for you will be infinitely smarter in every way, socially, economically, physically. This level of knowledge and experience changes your habitual patterns, grafting an entirely new way of living and understanding, a greater amount of light that transforms the very DNA of your body. Something wonderful is happening for you right now in this moment. I want you to be aware of that. Hope is never lost. And now is the time that you will discover your greatest purpose. I can feel the yearning and desire of so many people that want to be of service to others in this moment. The tentacles of my psychic mind reach out to all corners of this planet, and I can feel the yearning. And I can say the opportunity to be of service in this moment is right now, all around you. You don't have to look very far. Now that the switch has been turned and you become aware that you are something greater, a great love for this planet and the people in it, take over who you are. And you will find great prosperity in it. I just want you to know there's nothing to be afraid of. As you move into this environment, your thoughts are even more creative than before. This can be very disconcerting and troublesome. Your emotions will be more profound and significant. As you move into this new density, the way that you think will change. You will be thinking more than one thought at a time. The energy centers will be opened, and many of the lessons that you're struggling to go through now will instantaneously be learned. And you will remember. The veil will be lifted as you access this higher information density proton that is a potential now. And as you access this more and more, it begins to take up the very matter of everything around you. The solid objects in your room, your desk, computer, and it changes the very fabric of space and time. As you continue to utilize this particle in all aspects, everything changes. You must be open to these changes, for many will seem quite dramatic. Some will be quite scary. And when you watch the news, it will feel like all hope is lost. It simply is not true. This is a personal experience, and what you're about to experience is so powerful and profound. It rarely ever happens in this universe. You've probably only experienced it a couple of times because it requires the perfect timing. The blossoming of the consciousness from third to fourth density is one of the greatest things. The metaphysical butterfly awakens and changes. And it's going to happen to you. It is happening. And it has happened. You know what I'm saying. You've seen the changes all around you as you go about the world that you're in. You've seen them. You've heard them. You've felt them. And a part of you has denied them. And it's okay now. You can awaken to these changes and know that you are alive and this is your purpose. The majority of people that listen to this podcast come from a different place, are here for this purpose. And now is the time. Now is the time to make the change, to do the thing, to think the thought that you want to think. Now is the time for the acceleration of your manifestation. Now is the time for the true light to come into your heart. Now is the time to open your heart and let go of the past. The past will not help you. Let it go. All the things that bother you and the things you have not forgiven yourself for, you must let them go. The past is gone. In fact, many people are walk-ins in this moment. Many people are awakening with the full memory as if they've lived that whole life, but they actually just entered the body. And the only way they think that they've been in that body is because they've entered that body with all the full memories intact. This may be you. It is incredibly likely that you simply just entered into your body, even though you think you've been living your whole life in this body with all those memories. It's simply not so. So the past is not something that you experienced, and it's very possible that it's changing you. As you awaken in this body, let that portion of your memory go. Embrace the idea that all things are possible, and open your heart and all the different chakras in your body to the indwelling light coming up from the center of the earth, and then the additional light that swirls down through the crown chakra, down through your body. Let these wonderful energies come together in your heart, and then open your heart and awaken the area around you. Bring the love and light into your body and feeling, and then invite that fourth density photon into your heart. As it goes into your heart becomes a factory where more and more of these fourth density photons begin to exponentially surround you in an absolute change in the fabric of space and time. This is happening for you right now. You must become accustomed to this. Don't be afraid. The world may seem strange and unusual, and when we see things that are strange and unusual, oftentimes we get scared. There is nothing to be afraid of. All of those things that are weird and unusual are expected and normal as you awaken these new fourth density photons. Things will become more complex around you. Embrace this complexity. You will get more information. Embrace the information. There is no information overload. Your heart is able to digest and understand all of it because your heart becomes your brain. It's much larger and much more efficient. Combining with your brain as a processing center, you begin to awaken the true purpose and power of your body. As your body becomes a functioning brain, as it expands outward into the energy field, you interact with other memories and brains around you. And as you do this, the functioning of your brain will be comparable to one computer then being connected to 100 computers. Your computer works much better when it's in that fashion. And as you connect to more and more computers and have greater capacity, faster random access memory, increasing amounts of acceleration in the energy coming in, this higher density photon changes your world. It is much more reactive to the creative mind and imagination. You may see things that happen all around you, in some cases almost instantaneously after you think them. You will go through a very unusual period of time where you learn how to think properly in a fourth density environment. This is normal. Once you master your ability to think in the fourth density environment, you then can create whatever reality you want easily and quickly, and you are free. You are free to experience this reality as if you are controlling a computer matrix or hologram in a very elaborate way. And you can control what you remember or don't remember. You can increase your pleasure and receptivity. And as you do this, you start to change your body, the way it's shaped, the way it looks, and you'll be able to choose whatever body that you want as you exist within a light structure that allows you to manipulate your body in any way that you want. You are then free. As you continue to change and interact with others, your power, your love, and ability to serve others grows. And as you serve others, you connect with them in a way that expands your ability to access the whole social network and the social memory complex. It then becomes a growing phenomenon all over the planet as people connect and their thoughts are shared, and we begin to think to each other much faster than talking. And then there's a period of time where we will talk less and less to each other verbally with our mouths and more to each other as we get used to it telepathically. During this period, we can send images. Oftentimes, we can send movies to each other, recordings. And as we do this, we start to understand each other on a much deeper level. Many of the antagonisms and problems that we had prior to this go away. Much we know of as racism comes from ignorance. A greater understanding of someone else will immediately remove your knowledge of the color of their skin or where they came from or their religion. As you gain access to this fourth density photon, which you gain access by choice, as you choose to be of service and you open your heart, you begin to get this energy as it comes in. Your energies will change the fabric of the environment around you, and more people will join together. This energy will start to change the environment around us. It'll change systems, politics, economics. It can change the world, and there's nothing that anybody can do about it because it is so much more powerful when a social memory complex comes together and starts to work in unison, but all individually for the purpose of serving others. And once this happens, it does not matter what corporations own or what people are doing, because this will predominate. There will be a period of time where the fourth density social memory complex will sort of stay invisible. Because of its advanced knowledge, it will be aware, even through the Akashic record and the galactic network of information, the number of times that other social memory complexes have awakened and the nature of their awakening in a third density environment. It often involves staying somewhat invisible. Many people will not be aware of the changes. There'll be a sort of falling away, and eventually enough of the fourth density photon begins to form so that an entire planet exists within the realm of two energies. People will begin to become aware of this phase differential as they become aware of these two worlds. For many, their mind will simply shut it out, or they will have a part of them will say, this is just simply not true. And then over time, these two planets will separate. And if you are on the fourth density environment, it's because you have slowly changed the environment around you by opening your heart and accessing this fourth density photon particle. This fourth density photon particle, which makes up your new environment. And it's essentially two different sort of photons that are existing, and that's why the separation starts to take place. Scientists will discuss it. It'll become a physics problem for many. There will be a period of time, it will be obvious that there's been a shift in two different sort of phases exist within the realm at the same time. For the fourth density, it won't be a big deal. For the third density, they won't know what to do about it. It really does signal the end of the third density experience. While the third density can continue on for a very, very long time, in many cases, there's a healing of the planet and a slow dwindling. And as many of those who choose to go on in a third density environment simply go to another planet that is also third density. There are some that only choose to be in third density and have no desire to move on to the fourth density environment. The third density is very difficult, but for some, a fear of what goes beyond and change has limited them, and some are simply only stuck in the third density environment, not having made the choice between service of self and service of others. This is going to happen within the next 100 years. It will become more pronounced a tiny bit every day, but much like the frog boiling in the pot, we will not notice the major changes that are happening over time. These changes are happening, and they're happening around us all the time. Brian has seen and experienced them on multiple levels. When Brian held his workshop for RealityCon, they created the social memory complex, and there was major energies that were exchanged in that experience. Others are also reporting greater group cohesion, and things are starting to happen. Groups are forming. The earth is changing. What you will find is that people who have accessed this photon sort of create these reality bubbles around them where the whole world can be falling apart. People are struggling all around. Wars are happening. But within these reality bubbles, everything is perfect. The environment is perfect. The lighting is perfect. Everything is beautiful. And you'll find yourself moving in and out of these reality bubbles where when you're in a certain area, it just seems like everything's much more deep and vivid. And that is when you're in an area of fourth density. So you'll go through a transition period where you'll notice yourself just showing up in certain environments that are so vivid, and you'll just think, am I dreaming? And oftentimes you'll start asking, am I dreaming a lot during regular periods of time? Learning about dreaming is very important as you move into the fourth density environment. Dreaming is really what we're doing on different levels. Dreaming, as we have seen, is quite different for many people. But when you awaken in a dream, that's what you're doing while you're moving from third to fourth density. It's very much like you're awakening in a dream. And so if you learn to do this within a regular sleep state, it will also help you in a waking state as you move through third to fourth density. There's great sadness. And many people will leave this density, and it will be hard on many levels for how ridiculous it seems in many different places. Your fear creates, your emotions create, everything you're thinking is creating. Don't be afraid of negative thoughts. Confront them and become aware of them. Put light on them. Don't shove them into your subconscious. As you continue to move in this third density environment, you will become prosperous. You will find the love that you need. You will improve your health. And at that point, when life seems very, very nice, that is the very important point that you continue to move on and to be of service to others. This expands the field of fourth density photons that come into your life. And as you do this, it will spread. Different reality bubbles will start to merge together, and eventually an entire sphere will form within this density of light. For many, it will seem like it takes forever, and for some, it will seem like it goes very fast. But many of you that are listening are here for this transition, this shift that is happening now. Just enjoy it. It is a wonderful thing that is happening. And don't be afraid of the world around you as it becomes more complex. You are the main character in this movie. You're the hero, and you are awakening to your true role as the writer and director of this movie. Now, I just did that with my blindfold on, just talking into the microphone. I don't know how much of it is true, but that's what I was getting. Those are the feelings I was getting. And I just am saying stuff that comes to me as a truth. Oftentimes, there's no way for me to test or know or have an understanding of this knowledge when it comes to me. So in many cases, I don't want to just simply say stuff, but there is information I get when I channel. So the best thing I can do is just put it out there and question it. And if it's not accurate, then that's great. But there is a feeling in my heart of its accuracy as I access this information. And so I challenge you to do the same. To put a blindfold on, to sit by a microphone or your phone and just start talking into it, answering questions, thinking about things, guiding yourself. What you're doing is you're accessing the neutral observer. You're accessing a portion of you that is not you. So you can speak in the third person. You can analyze your thoughts, you can talk about it, you can ask questions, and then try to sound out the answers. So you're not necessarily channeling, but you're accessing a field of information verbally, which is easier for many people than writing it down or just going into meditation. So I'm asking you to try this experiment out. To blindfold yourself and record it and share it with me. If you post it on a video on YouTube, let me know. I will listen to it. I'm interested at what happens when you go within and try to communicate with yourself in this way. Ask higher questions that you wouldn't have the answers to about what's happening in the world, and see what sort of answers come to you. You may have visions and ideas. Every time I do it, it's different. And I'm not claiming any superior knowledge or anything. I'm just showing you a technique that I use that is like channeling. I don't know if it's channeling, but it is something that you should try. And so I would love to hear how it goes for you. In any case, all episodes of The Reality Revolution can be found at therealityrevolution.com. And welcome to The Reality Revolution.